This used to be the stereo system I used in my Sunbeam Alpine. Used to sit in the front footwell. Battery powered, could play records, cassettes or radio. It is a Panasonic SG-J555L. I don't know if there's a date on here, but I would imagine it's mid-80s. Nope, can't see a date, but I would guess mid-80s. But as you can see, it's a little bit worse for wear. So today's job is see if we can get it up and running again. First thing is take out these leaking batteries and dispose of said batteries. Lovely. Put this in the bin. So, the main things to look at is this record deck is obviously sort of stuck and bent. The speaker grills need a good clean, and the tape deck no longer go round. I would assume that a belt has returned back to goo. I will just say at this point you should really be using goggles when you do this. So very much a case of do as I say, not as I do, as my father would have said. There we go. Lovely. Right. Step number 2. See if we can get this thing open. Now my main screwdrivers are in the car, and I'm quite frankly too lazy to go and get them. So hopefully there's enough gap for me to get these down the holes. And no, I can get that one. One in there. Oh, not one in there. prevent electric shock. Do not remove screws. So I need a long screwdriver to get down there. Not going to be long enough. No, it's no good. I'm going to have to bite the bullet and go out to the car. So with everything out, let's see about getting this apart. Hopefully nothing too much will go pinging off. So, the usual thing, quick photographs of where things go. Hopefully we can get this out. Oh yeah, poor. Years of dust. Right, so that looks like that should attach somewhere. And there's a spring. There's a spring on a bit of cable, so let's find out. But first of all, let's get a duster, I think. Dust for now, a proper clean later on, just get the worst of the dust off. Right, so first things first. Looks to have a bit of broken plastic there, which looks like that will somehow hooks onto there. So looking at the record deck, got a bit of broken plastic there, which lines up with that. We've got this flopping about randomly. We have a spring, and we have a little small spring on a bit of string with a loop on the end. So I think a bit of investigation is in order. Right, well, this bit is attached to this button on that spring there, which hooks behind there. So I'm guessing that as you press that, that unlatches it, and there should be some sort of spring tension to push that out, which I do seem to remember was the case. So this bit here looks like that hooks on there, possibly hooks behind that there somehow. So I'm guessing that is what's sprung under tension, which somehow pushes this forwards using the string and the two springs. The belt doesn't look too bad, to be fair. But anyway, that's for another bit. So, right. Let's see. We have this wheel here, which I'm guessing is something to do with the spring. Possibly that bit of string hooks on there. But I'm not sure where it goes to, so a bit more investigating. Right, unfortunately I've had to admit defeat when it comes to that record deck mechanism, and I've ordered a service manual. So another little problem I have found while cleaning, other than the fact I'm now filthy, if you see here, this flap springs up and down to let the turntable in and out, and you see it's held on that side. This side is not, so that's somehow sprung out of there. The actual bit itself isn't broken, so it has just sprung out. So I'm going to have to somehow get that back in without breaking it. This could be fun. Well, actually there was enough flex in this like that to allow it to bend out, so we now have it working on both sides. Fantastic. So I think this is all I can really do for today. Again, it will get a better clean up once I've got things back together, and I have to nip over my garage. I might do that a bit later and get some foam cleaner and polish. But for now, until said service manual shows up, I think I'm pretty much stumped. So yeah, it will probably be a few days for me, but any second now you will see me with a service manual. Right, so it's been a few months, but due to work and whatever, but I have a service manual for this. So now I can figure out where that spring and the string bit, which I appear to have now lost, goes. Here it is. So we have those two bits. So I can now see, looking at this, where everything goes. So this spring hooks on there, and hooks into there. Like that. Right. So now we just need to wind that bit of string on, and we can see here that winds around that piece there and hooks, and hooks onto there, up there, rotates around that 3 times, then comes back down and hooks onto there. So let's do that. I'll put you down because trying to do that and hold the phone is not going to happen. Right, so after lots of faffing about, that is round that pin down there 3 times. That's hooked on there, round that, back on there. So now happens. So next bit, in theory, what would happen, you'd press that button and this, when it's all together, will slide out. But my spring's popped off. But as we can see here, that little catch there is broken, so I need to find something I can attach to that. So moving on, I can't find a replacement. This is the catch for the draw mechanism on the turntable. So I'm going to use a trick I've been told about that involves super glue and baking powder to build up this missing bit. Apparently it's a brilliant thing, but we'll give it a go and see what happens. Well, it's not neat, but what I'm doing, let me try and show you, is just gradually building up a bit of thing and adding the baking soda, like so. Taking the excess off, building it up again a bit more. In there. Take the excess off. Build it up a bit more. Take the excess off, and what we end up with is actually a pretty solid thing. So and cover it in a bit more baking soda, make sure it's all nicely covered and dry on both sides. And I'm going to leave it for probably the rest of today, just to make sure it really goes off hard. And looking at that, I should then be able to file that down to a nice repair bit. So it could actually work. I wasn't convinced it would, but it looks like it might. we'll see later on. Right, so just to prove how tough this baking soda and super glue concoction was, as you can see there, I'm actually having to cut it rather than file it because it is so tough. So I think as long as it doesn't snap the rest of the plastic, I should be able to shape this quite nicely. So let's keep trying. So that is now attached there, the spring back in place. It works well. So we're moving on to the other side, which is this bit, and onto the deck. So I've just removed it, so I can give in there a clean, but also so I can give all in here a good clean and get better access to the belt behind. So just give the heads, there's your raise head, playback record head, pinch wheel, capstan, and take up spool, fast forward rewind. Give all that a good clean up and put it back together. So with the rummage round me square belts, we have it on there. Bit of a pain, but goes on under the motor there, around the flywheel, around this sort of focus, around this tensioner there. So yeah, let's get it screwed back together. So now it's just a case of reattach the earth straps and various plugs. Incidentally, the date on the motor is 14th of June 1985. So this is from around the latter part of 85. So yeah, now let's just get those screws back in, get the plugs back in, give the rest of it a bit of a dust, then we can start the reassembly. Yay! So with the record deck cleaned and attached, reconnect all the wires and then try and get all this back together. Now that's going to be done off camera because there's going to be a lot of fiddling about getting pins and things in the correct grooves and what have you, so I'm going to need all hands and it's probably going to be a lot of swearing, so we'll come back in a second. So there it is back together. I know the light's terrible, but best I can do for now. Record deck sits out a little bit further than I'd like. At repair, I obviously filed just a tad too much off that retainer, so it sits a little bit further forward than I would have liked, but that'll do for now. I'll just try and source a proper replacement at some point. But oops, doesn't work very well because I'm sat at a funny angle. But it's a record deck. This is very difficult to do when it's sat at funny angles and on things. There we go. And obviously the tape deck there. So now let's try it. So first things first, let's try FM. And we have, oh, volume, haha.
The spread. England wakes today, divided into, are split apart from one another by disparate sets of rules, divided too by the measures in place in Scotland, Wales and Northern Ireland. Where does all this leave the United Kingdom, with some local parts straining at centrally imposed restrictions?
Right, that's enough of the COVID rules. So, right, radio works. What about the tape deck?
Position the Prime Minister now faces.
seems okay. I will just say the recording is terrible, that's why it sounds bad. But we'll remove that before we get a content match. And we will put a record on. 45. Phono. And oh dear. That is very slow. There we go, that's better. Well, ish. Right, let's try checking this out, I think, of it. So what we're doing here, so we can just see, we have an RPM device, so you see it's gone green, which means it's in the ballpark it should be in. It should be 33 1/3, and we are doing 33 1/2 with a wow and flutter of what looks to be about 2.3%. Now obviously it's not perfectly accurate because, as you can see, I have an iPhone sat to one side of the deck, which is not ideal. So that's putting a bit of weight on one side a bit more than others. So what I'm going to try, again, as you can see there, I've just put an audio cassette on just to put a flat bit over the shaft, so the phone's now more in the middle of the deck. Now again, it's still not perfect because we have got extra weight there and the tape and what have you, but again we are, well, it has dropped the wow and flutter down to about 0.6-ish, now up to 0.7, 33.6, so it's running ever so slightly fast, but you know, not a huge amount. So let's just see what it does if we put it up to 45. Getting there. Oh, 45, we're getting 43, 42, so it is actually running about 2 RPM slow. That's not ideal. And the wow and flutters up to about 5%. So 33 1/3 is pretty much spot on. On the 45 setting, it is running slow, and the wow and flutter is more. But you know, it's quite a cheap deck. So oh, we're down. Oh, we're really slowing down here. Oh, this is not good. We're nearly down at 35. We're on the 45 setting. Right, we're back down to 33. Oh no, and now we're speeding back up again. Bit of investigation here, I think. So there we go. Give that switch a good clean up, and that went through lovely. Obviously there's no auto return on this deck, but yeah, so let's try the meter again. So off, Remove the record. I know you shouldn't touch a record like that, but it is a pretty old knackered record. And we don't need that. So, plonk that on there. And we are running. Oh, we're actually running a little bit fast now. 45.7. A wow and flutter of 0.8, so that's much better. Albeit ever so slightly fast, but not fast enough where I'm too worried. So it is running at 1.5% fast, which, to be fair, on a 45 RPM record, I'm really not that worried. So let's just see what it does on 33. Oh, hang on. Oops. Cancel that. Cancel that. So on. Need to reset it. So 33 again is running at about 1% fast at 33.7. And put it up to 45. And we're straight up there to 45.7. So I'm pretty happy with that. I might just adjust the speed down a fraction, but I'm not too worried. So simply because I could, there's the adjustments underneath the deck there, 33 and 45, and I have just knocked them both down ever so slightly. Literally 1/8 of a turn, so we'll see what difference that makes. So we have, if I cancel that, reset that, a bit of adjustment on the 33. We are bang on 33 1/3, and we're running at 0.03% fast, so I'm not even going to try and get that out. Basically 33.33, it's about as good as it's going to get, with a wow and flutter of 0.82. So that's that one done. So if we move on to 45, and we are 44.1. 40, oh, too far, back a bit. 44.7, 44.5, oh, too far. Just up a tad. 45.8, oh. I do hate it when it does that. Cancel that, reset that. Oh dear. This is the trouble when you're trying to do things two-handed with the wrong sort of equipment. And where's my old gone? Here's my old gone. .0. Back ever so slightly. 45.15, 45.0403. And again, we're as near as makes no difference there. 44.9798 with a wow and flutter of 1%. So, yep, we're basically spot on there. Alright, so I'm not sure how well this is showing up, and I apologise for the noise, but that is looking at about 2,915 hertz on a 3, let's just stop this, on a 3 kilohertz signal. So it's running ever so slightly slow, but not slow enough where I'm going to take it apart again to get to the motor and adjust it. So that is good enough. I can't really check the wow and flutter because I don't have a means. Oh, actually, I might have. Back in a second. So this is certainly not ideal, but basically I've got a 6mm to 3.5mm jack plug adapter going into a 3.5mm to RCA, couplers to RCA, to 3.5mm jack plug. So, as I said, certainly not ideal, but it's the only way I can plug it into the computer. And what we're showing is, and just as I point the phone at it, it goes off the scale. So there we go, we're back on. We are 28.5, 27. Let's just put that up there. So we are running a bit slow. It should be 3,000 hertz. We're running 27.9 to 28.5 with a wow and flutter of 1.2, 1.3 or 0.7 to 0.8 RMS. So it is running slow, but as I said, not slow enough to where I'm going to strip it all down again so I can get to the motor in the back. Because the trouble with these is you can't really do this very easily while you're accessing the motor, because you've got to disconnect the wires really to get the front panel off far enough to access the motor, at which point you can't obviously play it. So it's not ideal. So it's a sort of a case of adjust, put it back together, try again, take it apart, adjust, put it back together, try again, which for something that I'm hardly ever going to use, and I might even just sell, we'll see, it's not running slow enough where I'm prepared to do that. So I reckon for the Panasonic, whatever this is called, Panasonic, I'm really organised here, SG-J555 from the mid-80s. This is about as good as it's going to get. So, hope you enjoyed this video. If you didn't, well, tough luck really. And all I can say is like, share, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.